What if the most important witness of Kurukshetra was not a warrior, not a king, but the one man forced to see everything and stop nothing? Sanjaya watches the Mahabharata's greatest war without holding a weapon. He sees strategy, collapse, courage, and grief in real time. And he must carry that vision back to a blind king whose weakness helped make the war inevitable. That is what makes Sanjaya unforgettable. He is not only a narrator. He is the bridge between action and consequence. Every report he gives becomes a moral indictment. Dhritarashtra cannot say he never knew what the war was costing. Through Sanjaya, the king receives each wound, each death, and each turning point almost as if fate were reading out the bill for his own indecision. But another question makes his role even stranger. Why does the epic give this vision to Sanjaya at all? Why must one court advisor see the Gita, the battle lines, and the destruction of dynasties from afar? Because the Mahabharata wants witness to matter. It wants us to feel that seeing the truth is itself a form of responsibility, even when the witness has no power to command armies. This also makes Sanjaya perfect for a modern viewer. He stands close enough to power to know its failures, yet far enough from the battlefield to see pattern instead of only panic. He can observe what the warriors cannot. Pride hardening into strategy. Loyalty turning into doom. And behind every tactical move, one question pressing harder: what does it mean to watch catastrophe clearly while being unable to reverse it? To answer that, we have to go back to the beginning of Sanjaya's gift. Before he becomes the eyes of the court, he receives divine sight from Vyasa. That blessing sounds powerful, but the Mahabharata turns it into a burden. Sanjaya will not use vision to conquer. He will use it to witness, report, and absorb the grief of a civilization tearing itself apart in full view. Vyasa offers Dhritarashtra the chance to see the war for himself. The king refuses. He cannot bear the sight of his sons and kin destroying one another. So the vision passes to Sanjaya instead. This detail matters deeply. The king who helped create the crisis cannot endure direct witness. The servant beside him must carry what the ruler lacks the courage to face. That refusal is not only physical blindness. It is moral exhaustion. Dhritarashtra wants knowledge without vision, consequence without sight, and loyalty without judgment. Sanjaya becomes the answer the king does not deserve but still receives. He will speak the truth into the royal chamber, whether the truth sounds like strategy, warning, prayer, or obituary. And what Sanjaya receives is not a narrow gift. He can see the formations, the heroes, the mood of the field, and the moral weight beneath the weapons. Kurukshetra is not shown to him as a blur of action. It is shown as a readable drama of character and destiny. That is why his reports never feel like dry military updates. They carry the shock of someone watching history expose its hidden causes. This is where Sanjaya's role grows sharper than sympathy alone. Every message he delivers forces the court to hear reality without the comfort of rumor or self-flattery. Duryodhana's ambition, Bhishma's command, Arjuna's crisis, Krishna's counsel, all of it enters Hastinapura through Sanjaya's voice. He becomes the moral bloodstream of a court that waited too long to cure itself. And then comes the most extraordinary moment of all. Sanjaya is present, through vision, at the pause before the first great wave of violence. He is there when Arjuna collapses inward and Krishna begins to answer him. So the man sent to report a war becomes the one who also transmits the deepest teaching spoken before it. That is not accidental. The witness must see both destruction and the attempt to understand it. When Arjuna lowers his bow, Sanjaya does not simply see hesitation. He sees the war reveal its true scale. The greatest archer freezes because the enemy line contains teachers, elders, cousins, and friends. Suddenly Kurukshetra is no longer only a military contest. It is a civilizational breakdown. And Sanjaya is one of the few who can watch both the emotional crisis and the political stakes at once. This is why Sanjaya matters to the Bhagavad Gita itself. He is the one who carries its setting and gravity to the blind king. Through him, the court must hear that the first battlefield was the human mind. Krishna's words are not abstract philosophy floating above the story. They answer a real collapse at a real moment when duty, grief, fear, and destiny collide before millions of lives are changed. Imagine the strange irony of that moment. Dhritarashtra, whose failures helped bring the war, learns of the Gita from Sanjaya instead of from transformed action. The king receives wisdom as report, not repentance. That contrast is brutal. Hearing truth is not the same as obeying it. The Mahabharata keeps repeating this lesson, and Sanjaya becomes the channel through which that failure is made impossible to ignore. Once the battle begins, Sanjaya's sight becomes relentless. Bhishma advances like a storm. The formations shatter and reform. Heroes rise in brilliance and disappear into dust and blood. Yet even amid the spectacle, Sanjaya never loses the larger pattern. He sees the old order consuming itself. Every victory already carries loss, and every great act of valor moves the Kuru house one step closer to emptiness. That perspective is Sanjaya's true gift. He does not get trapped inside the illusion that war can be mastered by headlines of who is ahead today. He can already feel what the surviving kingdom will inherit tomorrow: fathers without sons, mothers without heirs, and rulers without the moral world they once claimed to defend. Seeing clearly means seeing beyond the day's score into the structure of grief itself. As the days continue, Sanjaya's role becomes heavier than information. He must endure repetition without numbness. Another hero falls. Another formation breaks. Another hope disappears. And each time he returns to Dhritarashtra, he is not only describing events. He is forcing the king to sit inside consequences that attachment once kept at a safe emotional distance. This is the hidden discipline of Sanjaya. Many people can speak in crisis. Few can keep speaking truth when the listener wants relief more than accuracy. Dhritarashtra sometimes asks with desperation, sometimes with dread, and always with hope that some turn may save his sons. Sanjaya cannot invent that comfort. His fidelity is to what happened, not to what the king wishes had happened. Think of what it means for Sanjaya to witness Bhishma's fall. One of the grand pillars of the Kuru world lies on a bed of arrows, and with him falls the fantasy that old greatness alone can preserve a corrupt house. Sanjaya sees not only the body of a warrior. He sees an era collapsing in front of him. His reports become a funeral procession for a civilization's self-image. He also sees the war's psychological trap. Even as losses mount, Duryodhana refuses the humility that might have saved him earlier. Pride keeps converting warning into defiance. Sanjaya watches the same pattern that destroyed peace now destroy survival. That repetition matters. The Mahabharata is not showing random disaster. It is showing character refusing correction until correction returns as ruin. By now Sanjaya is more than a messenger. He is the memory of the war while it is still happening. Others fight, command, or die. He must retain sequence, meaning, and moral weight. In that sense, he protects something the battlefield destroys every hour: coherent truth. Without a witness like Sanjaya, catastrophe dissolves into noise. With him, it becomes a lesson no ruler can honestly claim not to have heard. So what is Sanjaya's deepest lesson? He shows that witness is not passive when it preserves reality against denial. A kingdom can survive hard truth more easily than it can survive unreality. Dhritarashtra's court delayed truth for years. Sanjaya could not reverse that history. But he could make sure the final cost was seen, named, and carried back into the chamber where avoidance had once felt so convenient. He also links the Mahabharata's two great movements, insight and destruction. Through Sanjaya, the same witness who sees the Gita also sees the slaughter that follows. That is deliberate. Wisdom does not erase conflict by magic. It must be heard, chosen, and lived before crisis hardens beyond repair. Otherwise even the highest teaching may arrive as illumination inside a tragedy that people were too weak to prevent. That is why Sanjaya feels painfully relevant even now. Institutions fail when leaders prefer filtered comfort over unwelcome truth. Families fail when they wait too long to face what everyone already senses. Sanjaya represents the discipline of honest transmission. He does not reduce reality to slogans. He carries its full weight, because once truth is softened too much, it stops being strong enough to save anyone. And once we understand Sanjaya, another hard question opens naturally. If witness preserves truth during the war, what happens after the war when revenge survives even defeat? That next chapter leads toward one of the Mahabharata's darkest endings, where victory still fails to bring peace and the night itself becomes a weapon. So remember Sanjaya as more than the one who described Kurukshetra. He is the Mahabharata's reminder that seeing clearly is a sacred duty when power would rather look away. If this episode helped you see the Mahabharata more deeply, like this video, subscribe to EkalavyaLearn, and turn on the bell icon to get new videos on time. Next, Ashvathama's last night of revenge shows what happens when the war ends but hatred refuses to stop fighting.